The Detroit Pistons open up their regular season in just a few days against the Orlando Magic. But before we get to previewing that and talking about the regular season, I want to talk about the very good, the very bad, and the okay that we saw from preseason in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button over at the YouTube channel. We just crossed over 4,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. We're trying to get to 5,000 by the start of the new year. So if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, or you can leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. All right, and to give a shout out to the person who got last episode's question correct, which was what former Detroit Piston became the mayor of Detroit. Eric Mecca in the YouTube section said, Dave Bing, you are correct. It was Dave Bing. And let's go ahead and ask the new question for this episode. You guys want to answer it? Go in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. This question is, who coached the University of Detroit to the Sweet 16 in 1977, coached the Detroit Pistons in 1978 to 79, and called the first college basketball game ever broadcasted on ESPN? Let me know what you guys think the answer to that is in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. Those are the best ways to answer it, or you can leave it in a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. But again, let me go ahead and read it for you guys one more time. Who coached the University of Detroit to the Sweet 16 in 1977, coached the Pistons in 78-79, and called the first college basketball game ever broadcasted on ESPN? Send the answer. All right, so in today's episode, I want to talk about the very good, the very bad, and the okay from preseason. I know we spent, I feel like, a lot of time over the last few episodes, some about just the very bad, and some of that will be talked about in the second segment, but let's talk about the very good that we saw from preseason. And there were a few things. I think the biggest positive that we saw from preseason was Isaiah Stewart's outside shooting. And through 4 games in preseason, Isaiah Stewart shot 39% from deep on 4.5 attempts a game. Now, let's just say if we took that and that was his season averages and percentages, that would be utterly fantastic. He'd be one of the best big man shooters in the entire NBA. Do I think that's going to be what he shoots on the season? Absolutely not. Do I think that's something that can be sustained? No. But what I do think it shows is that his three-point shot and his outside shooting is somewhat legit, I should say. Now, again, we've seen people in preseason look great, and then regular season comes around, it's a completely different script. However, I don't think that's the case here. I think Isaiah Stewart actually has put in a lot of work to his outside shot. He looks a lot more confident when he shoots it. He's not hesitating to shoot it. Again, the last game that they played, he started off 0-4. Really bad misses. Airball the last miss, but then went on to make his next 3. So I really like the fact that he feels so confident in it. The team is telling him to keep launching, and he shot a really good percentage with it. So I think at the very least, what you can take away from preseason is that, okay, maybe Stu won't shoot 40%. Heck, I don't think he'll even shoot like 37%. But I think it is realistic to believe that he can get around 33, 34% this season on a decent amount of shot attempts from beyond the arc. And that will do good things and really great things for his career arc, for his season, for his development as a player for the Detroit Pistons and their young core. I think that's going to do great things for him. He has other places that he has to work on, but providing an outside shot, almost, and we'll kind of talk about this a little bit later in the episode when we talk about the okay and the very bad. But if Isaiah Stewart can be somewhat of a floor spacer for the Detroit Pistons, he's really their only hope in the front court to really space the floor. Like, if he can't do it, there's multiple lineups and multiple situations where they're just going to be screwed with spacing, especially when Marvin Bagley gets back healthy. And we'll talk about that also a little later. But if he provides spacing, he may be somewhat of a savior to the Pistons in the front court because of how bad they need spacing. So, yes, Isaiah Stewart, I loved what I saw from him beyond the arc. Again, 39%, 4.5 attempts. Great to see from him. Hopefully, we see that translate over to the regular season. If it does, would mean great things, not only for him, but for the Detroit Pistons. Next very good that I saw from preseason was Killian Hayes. Killian Hayes had 20-something points in his last game that he played. In the last game he played before he got hurt. He played a really nice game there, hit a few threes. But really, throughout the preseason, the first 3 games that he played, and we talked about this already on the podcast, but the fact that he looks like a different player, he's playing like a different player, he's acting like a different player, he's talking like a different player. He seems much more confident. He feels maybe, and this could be the case. Some of you guys actually mentioned this to me in the comment section. This could be the case. And may be working. If you have to do this, I know some people do this, and it helps. He feels more, he sounds more cocky, but it may just be him. He may not be actually cocky. Maybe he's just speaking it out so eventually he starts believing in his damn self. And maybe that's what he needs to do because it's working, I feel like. Through the preseason, he played like a different player. He was playing aggressive in the half court. He was looking for a shot consistently. And he wasn't always making his shots. But like I told you guys on the other podcast, the only way you're going to get development, the only way you're going to get to where you're trying to go is by playing the same way, whether you're playing up, whether you're playing down, whether you're playing great, whether you're playing terrible. You have to go through the process and you have to attack it the exact same way, no matter how you feel or how you're shooting that night. And eventually you're going to have more consistent good games. You'll have some ups, you'll have some downs, but eventually if you keep going through it, you're going to see more good games than bad. And that's what we saw from Killian Hayes through preseason. I really hope we see it from him during the regular season because him and Isaiah Stewart carry what we saw from them in preseason over to the regular season. Them two, I feel like, are the X factors for the Detroit Pistons. Killian Hayes actually hitting that development and becoming the player that I believe he could be, that's major for their rebuild and their restoration in this season. If Isaiah Stewart can become an outside shooter and actually provide spacing for this team, that does amazing things and a big X factor for them this season and moving forward with Isaiah Stewart. So these two guys, more than anyone else, I actually feel like these two guys more than any other player on the team are the biggest X factors for the Detroit Pistons. And I really liked what I saw from both of them in preseason. I loved it. I think they're by far the 2 biggest takeaways that you take away from preseason, by far for me. I don't think anything else even comes close to what these 2 guys showed in preseason. I think they're the biggest takeaways that you can have good-wise from the Detroit Pistons preseason, despite the fact that they went 0-4, which was not great, but you got a few bright spots on Killian Hayes and Isaiah Stewart. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think the very good from preseason was, or you can tweet me over at Cougar Hill. When we come back, we're going to talk about the very bad that we saw from preseason. But first, I got to tell you guys something. So you guys ever, I know all of you guys have to have subscriptions. I have all kinds of subscriptions, trust me. And do you guys ever just get so many subscriptions or maybe subscribe to something that you don't even remember? And then a few months later, you go and check your bank account. You're like, oh, crap, what's this charging me? $10 a month, $15 a month. What is it? I don't remember what this is. And you just subscribe to something that you don't remember. Hey, it happens to me all the time. And really, it feels like you're just wasting money. But if you use RocketMoney, which was once formerly known as Truebill, this will help you tremendously. You can see all the subscriptions that you have on RocketMoney. You can cancel your subscriptions on RocketMoney. You can see how much it's charging you. You can see if you get double bounced with a subscription. You can see all that stuff, and it has literally every subscription tied to that bank account on RocketMoney, so you can't forget something. And if you do, it has it right there for you. It literally will save you tons of money. I know it will save me a ton of money as well. I can't tell you guys how many gym memberships I have that I just forgot to cancel, or a Netflix, Amazon Prime, random subscriptions I just have, and I just stopped using. I forgot to cancel them, but it's still taking money out my bank account every month. I'm telling you, you guys will need RocketMoney to keep track of your subscriptions. Cancel unnecessary subscriptions with RocketMoney today. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Seriously, it could save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. And we even have some testimonials from some people that use RocketMoney. This one is from Deliberty HB on Twitter. Says, yes, wholeheartedly, an intuitive money app is hard to come by. You have to get it. Another member who had RocketMoney says it's the best app they have ever used. So again, cancel unnecessary subscriptions with RocketMoney today. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Again, it can save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. Help us get to 5,000 subscribers by the start of the new year. or you can leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the very bad from the preseason. And when a team goes 0-4, whether it's preseason, regular season, postseason, whatever, if you go 0-4, that's just not good. I know teams going out there, yes, it is preseason, but no team's going out there just to purposely throw games like that. No team wants to lose every single game, especially in the kind of fashion I feel like the Pistons lost in. Now, maybe if you're the OKC Thunder, and this is no shot to the OKC Thunder, but if you're a team like that, or the 2012-13 Philadelphia 76ers, maybe you are purposely throwing like that. But the Pistons, I'm sure, did not want to go out there in preseason and get destroyed damn near every game like they did, especially the game against the New Orleans Pelicans, where they were playing the starters versus the bench the entire fourth quarter and really got destroyed or got their asses whooped, to pardon my language, but that's what happened. So I'm sure that's not what they wanted to come out of preseason. And what contributed to the fact that they went 0-4 in preseason? Well, the first very bad, and we've talked about it so much that I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but it's the defense. The defense was so piss poor through preseason. I can't see it getting much better in the regular season. They tried doing a little bit of a different scheme against the Memphis Grizzlies the first few plays, possessions, a little bit in the first quarter. Against John Morant in high pick and rolls, they tried playing drop against him. He was still shredding them through that. And then they went right back to switching through everything, and they destroyed him with that. I just don't think – do I think that the scheme that the Pistons were running with switch everything was good? Absolutely not. I hate it. I hope they don't do it every single – I really hope the soft switching everything doesn't happen. However, really – and I kind of hit on this a little bit in one of the last episodes. I should have dove more into it. But I don't know if there really is a defensive scheme that will make this team a good defensive team. They don't have good defenders. They have Isaiah Stewart. Isaiah Stewart who? Killian Hayes. Then who? Who's the other plus NBA defender? Not plus NBA defender for a rookie or a young guy, like an actual plus NBA defender. You got Stu, Killian. No one's in the well if he's playing in drop coverage, but is he going to be even getting minutes for the team? Who knows? And then Isaiah Livers, I'd maybe throw into there too. But Isaiah Livers has only played, 20-something games? I wouldn't blame anybody for saying, well, we need to actually see this for longer stretches to believe that he actually is a good defender. I wouldn't blame anyone for saying that. So if you have that caveat for Isaiah Livers, the Pistons literally only have 2 good defenders on their team. Cade's an inconsistent defender. He reaches too much. He plays with his hands too much. It's fine. He's young. But if you're talking about this as an NBA team, eliminating all they're young, we just want to see progress in this department. They're young, they're going to do this, blah, blah. If you're just talking about an NBA defense, the Pistons only have, I feel like, 2 good NBA defenders that's going to be consistent NBA minutes. And that's Isaiah Stewart and Killian Hayes. So whether they're playing switch everything, whether they're playing drop, whether they're playing hedge, whether they're hedging, whether they're trapping, whatever they're doing, heck, zone. They even tried running a zone against the Grizzlies a few times, and it looked horrible too. I just don't think anything's really going to work, because they don't have defenders on this team. They don't have good defenders on this team. So do I think switching everything's putting them at an even worse advantage? Yes. But again, even if they went to drop, switch, or anything else, I still don't think they'd be a great defensive team. I don't think they'd even be a good defensive team. I think no matter what, you're going to see this team be a bottom 10 defensive team in the NBA this year, simply because they don't have no one that can guard on the perimeter consistently. And without Isaiah Stewart in the game, you don't really have any rim protection. And I think Isaiah Stewart is slightly overrated as a rim protector. I think he's really good switching on the guards perimeter-wise. But I think he's being slightly overrated as a rim protector. But heck, even if you want to say he's a really good rim protector, he's the only one on the team. And if they play against a stretch big who pulls them out to the perimeter, they don't have no one that can contain drives. So I don't see this team being a good defensive team. I think it's going to be much of the same throughout the regular season. So that's the very, very bad for this team. The next very bad, I would say, is okay. So I have it in my notes, half-court offense, but I should have described it a little bit more in the notes. I'm going to do it on the podcast, obviously. The worry, I feel like, and you wouldn't just use very bad, but it's a worry, and we talked about in the last podcast too, is how are you going to work in the half court with Marvin Bagley out, which I guess I'll go ahead and spoil this now. The injury to Marvin Bagley was a very bad thing that we were going to talk about in this segment. But yeah, losing Marvin Bagley is awful. It's great that he didn't suffer as bad of an injury that we thought he had suffered. But him having an injury nonetheless and being out for as long as he's going to be, that sucks, and it's a very bad to come out of preseason. The number one thing I feel like every team wants to come out of preseason with is health. And losing Marvin Bagley, who looked like he was going to be a starter for the Pistons, and provide that interior presence offensively in the lob threat, really sucks to lose him. But back to the half-court offense, what I really wanted to talk about was, or what my real worry is, how are you going to work the half-court offense with giving Cade and Ivy their needed touches on ball, not off ball, because we talked about how Cade Cunningham played way too much off ball in preseason for my liking. So how are you going to get Ivy and Cade their needed touches while also getting Saddiq Bey his touches? Because it's clear Saddiq still wants to try and put stuff into his game that's not just catch and shooting. So he wants to do stuff with the ball in his hands, whether that's smart or not. He's going to do it. So how are you going to get touches for Cade, Ivy, and Saddiq while having no real rim presence on the floor with Isaiah Stewart in your starting lineup, while having no one that can really put pressure on the rim, dunker spot, finish around the rim at the big man position, while also having Bojan Bogdanovic, who I don't think what we saw through preseason really fits with Saddiq Bey. So how are you going to do all those things mashed into one while also hoping that Isaiah Stewart's three-point shooting that you saw in preseason translates to the regular season? Because if it doesn't, then it makes it even worse. So there's a lot of stuff going to the Pistons starting half-court offense that maybe they figure it out, maybe they don't. But it's a big worry for me. It's something I'm really keeping my eye on because there's a lot of factors going into it that you usually do not want happening to your offense. I don't think this is something the Pistons want to be dealing with in their half-court. Or maybe, I don't want to say want to be dealing with because they did draft Jaden Ivey and they knew that this was going to be something they had to work through. But it's something they're probably going to struggle with, I should say. That was a better way of saying it. They're going to struggle with this, I feel like. And I don't know how long it's going to take them to really get through it or if they'll ever get through it. It's going to be interesting to see. I really feel like I'm going to continue to say this. While I'm really happy with how Isaiah Stewart shot from deep, I think it's quite clear. I think everybody would agree with this. Every single person, even the biggest beef stew stan, that Cade Cunningham changed or completely flipped the switch when he had a lob threat. When he had not even just a lob threat, someone who could put pressure on the rim and draw the big man out and take attention off of him. The problem when you don't have someone who can put pressure on the rim is that all the attention's all the ball handler now. All the attention's on Cade Cunningham because they don't have to worry about any other threat. When you have a lob threat or a rim pressure, when you have someone who can finish around the rim, dunker spot, all that kind of stuff on a dump off, anything, it takes somewhat of a pressure off of Cade Cunningham on his drives and the pick and roll, etc. And without that in the starting lineup, with all the other things, I just feel like that it's going to be a little bit of a struggle in the half court. I think they'll be a pretty damn good in transition. I hope they run a lot. I think that will make up for it. I don't know if they will. Dwayne Casey usually doesn't like to run, but I think they'll be good in transition. Half court, though, it's a concern. So that's the very bad I have from preseason. The defense, concerns over the half court offense, and obviously the injury to Marvin Bagley. That you never want to see any injuries happen in preseason, especially to a guy you just paid 3 years, $13 million a year, and you expected him to be your starter coming into the season. That sucks. So that's my very bad from the preseason. Let me know if you guys have any other very bads from the preseason, or you can comment, or I should say, you can comment down below or tweet at me at Kuka Hill what you guys believe is the very bad from the preseason. When we come back, we'll talk about the okay. It's not great. It's not terrible. Something to keep your eye on. It's Ight from the preseason. We'll talk about that. But first, I got to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for football and basketball betting info this season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game that you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport that's out there. The fastest and easiest way of checking out all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, golf, tennis, NBA, NFL, college sports. You think of it, the sport you think of, it's on there. It's BetOnline. They have damn near everything. Head to BetOnline.net or use your mobile device to learn more about their trends in action today. And if you head over to BetOnline.net and you click that basketball section, you'll see MVP, odds to win the championship, odds for the number one overall pick, sixth man of the year, most improved, coach of the year, all that stuff over at BetOnline.net. Make sure you check BetOnline.net out or use your mobile device to learn more about their trends and action today. BetOnline, where the game starts. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button at the YouTube channel, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on. All right, so what's the Ight? It's Ight. It's not great, but it's Ight from the preseason. What's that? So the first player that comes to mind, Kevin Knox. I think Kevin Knox is going to get minutes immediately in regular season. I do. I think he's going to, especially with Marvin Bagley out right now. I think Kevin Knox earned himself some minutes immediately in the rotation. What's he going to be like? In the one preseason game that he played, he shot pretty well from deep. His shot looked really nice. He had a nice poster dunk. I thought he actually made some nice passes, and he wasn't a complete dumpster fire defensively. His size and his length and his athleticism, for him to be able to space the floor how he was in that game and how he has done at points in his career, he's been up and down from outside shooting season to season. If he can be this floor spacer and the outside shooter that he's supposed to be, the lights out shooter, with that athleticism, that size, he has to play for the Pistons. And he's the one player on the team who I feel like it really is just as simple as either you're hitting your outside shots or you're not. It's simple as that. If you're hitting your outside shots, you play. If you're not, you're not playing. Like, he's the one player on the roster. I think it just boils down literally just to that, and that's how he plays. So I liked what I saw from him in that one preseason game. He wasn't fantastic. He wasn't terrible. I thought he was good. So I think he's going to get minutes immediately. I think he's the first thing that pops to my mind when I think of, it was Ight. It was Ight. I'd like to see some more. It was decent. Kevin Knox. Next player, Jalen Duren. I don't think he was great. I don't think he was awful. But I don't think he was really, really that good. I think he was Ight. He fouled a ton, which you expect of rookie big men. He jumped a lot, which you expect of rookie big men. And on offense, he looked like he got rushed a little bit, which, again, you expect of the youngest player in the entire NBA. However, he rebounded the ball really damn well. Really damn well. He was active on the glass, which you love to see. He had a nice few blocks, which you really like to see. You expect him to be a really damn good rim protector in the future once he starts to develop and he gets some experience under his waist. And I thought he provided some rim pressure for the Pistons offensively. I know you probably don't hear about that on other podcasts. You probably don't hear other people talk about rim pressure, rim gravity, all that kind of stuff. You don't hear other people talk about it, but you do hear. Because I know how important that is to a half-court offense, especially when you have a player like Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey. You need a big guy who puts that kind of threat on the rim. I think Jalen Duren was doing that for the Pistons through preseason. So he had his bads. He had his things he has to improve on. But it's things that we expected him that he had to improve on. It's things that all rookies, especially the youngest player in the entire NBA, has to work on. But he also did some things that made you say, okay, he showed us some stuff. He may be ready to play some minutes immediately. Now, do I think he should be getting a ton of minutes out the gate? No, I don't think he's ready. Now, if the Pistons just decide to throw him minutes because, it's a restoring year, they're not trying to win a ton of games, their big priority is developing these guys, so why not just give him minutes? Then go ahead. Yeah, then I could see him getting 20-plus minutes. But if that's not what they're going to do, I do not think he's ready for that many minutes. I honestly think he should be playing sometime in G League because he's the youngest player in the entire NBA. I'm going to say it one more time. He is the youngest NBA player in the league. You can't expect him to be playing mega minutes and not be having these type of mistakes. He fouled a ton. I think if you played him 10-plus minutes in the NBA right now, he may foul out. Like he damn near did it in the preseason. And that's okay. That's not a heavy criticism. That's okay. You expect that of young big men, especially the youngest one in the NBA. But that doesn't mean you just throw him to the fire and throw him to the wolves and let him do it over and over. I think you let him play in the G League some, or maybe you give him sparing minutes. You give him like 8 to 10 minutes a game and let him get some experience, play through some stuff, play through some mistakes, do some good things. And then as the season goes on, you ramp it up more and more and more and more. So I don't think he's going to get mega minutes immediately. He might actually, I take that back. He might actually now, because of Bagley's injury, he might get mega minutes. And we don't know if Nerlens Noel's ready yet. But if Nerlens Noel's ready, and when Marvin Bagley gets back, I don't expect him to be getting mega minutes unless he absolutely is just like dominating somehow in Marvin Bagley's absence and in Nerlens Noel's absence, however long that is. So Jalen Duren was Ight. He was Ight. He has some things he has to work on, obviously. Some easy rookie mistakes, some things that really jumped off the board when it comes to being a young guy, but also he did some really nice things. So he was Ight. And so was Kevin Knox. Kevin Knox was Ight. Now, the funny thing is that I wanted to include one other player in the Ight, But I feel like if I included this other player in the eye, you guys would raise living hell. Like, I feel like you guys might burn down the channel before like you even finish watching this video or listening to this podcast. But I'm going to do it anyway because I don't care. I care a little bit, actually. I lied. Don't burn down my podcast. Don't burn down my channel, please. But Corey Joseph. Listen, I know everybody hates Corey Joseph. And listen, I'm not the biggest fan of Corey Joseph either, okay? I don't want to see Corey Joseph getting minutes. If Alec Burks is healthy and Hamidou Diallo is healthy, I don't want to see Corey Joseph getting minutes. I don't. None of us do. But Corey Joseph, if one of them is hurt, and if one of them has to sit out and he has to play minutes, I actually think he's done a fine job. He's probably one of the best three-point shooters on the team. Last year, he shot pretty good. Last year, he shot pretty good from outside. And in the preseason, he shot 37% again on 5 attempts a game. He provides spacing. Now, do I like the fact that when he's on the floor with Killian Hayes, he runs the show sometimes? He takes the ball up the court and runs the plays? No, I don't like that. Do I like the fact that he runs pick and rolls a little bit too much when Killian Hayes is on the floor? I don't like that. But overall, Corey Joseph does his job. He's 31 years old. He's an incredible veteran to have around. Everyone loves him. He's a fun guy in the locker room. And he's not just one of those veterans that if you put him on the floor, he's trash. He's not Udonis Haslem, who's just there to be in the locker room and collect a paycheck. He can actually play. He's one of the best shooters on the team over the past year and a half. He's provided spacing for the team. So I think Corey Joseph did all right in the preseason. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I know people don't like him, but like I thought he did all right. I thought he was fine. And he has to get minutes, I'm not sweating it because I think he actually can perform in those minutes. Like Ronnie McGruder, I don't think can perform if you give him those minutes. I think he's there to be a veteran, which is fine. Guys like him. But he should not be getting minutes. If he's getting minutes, you're probably screwed. That's my belief there. If Corey Joseph is getting minutes, you can feel comfortable. He'll hold the fort down. He'll hit outside shots. And he won't be spectacular or anything, but he's not going to be utterly garbage. And he's not going to do things he can't do either. So I thought Corey Joseph did all right. Now, don't kill me. Don't kill me, y'all. Come on. We got to give him credit, man. You guys got to give him credit. When a dude plays well, even when you don't like him, you have to give him credit. Don't kill me for giving the dude credit. He deserves it. Corey Joseph played all right. But outside of that, man, that's all I've got for you guys today. I appreciate you guys listening, man. I appreciate you guys making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button over to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. Make sure you guys send your answer to the question of today's podcast. I'll read it for you guys again. For those of you guys who forgot, who coached the University of Detroit to the Sweet 16 in 1977, coached the Pistons in 78-79, and called the first college basketball game ever broadcasted on ESPN. Send me your guys' answers. But until next time, guys, I'll see you guys later. Who's going to opening night? Let me know where you guys are sitting at. Who's going? Let me know all of that down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. But until the next podcast, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe, everybody. Go Pistons, and peace out.